Sweet, sweet revenge. Find out which Point Park team picked up an important conference win on the road this past Saturday. And Hitting the Links will tell you how the men's golf team performed at Grove City over the weekend. Then later, we'll discuss the best that never won. Our reporters are here to debate some of the best teams that never won a championship. Now, I think it's time we head on down to the Pioneer Sideline. Good evening and welcome to the Pioneer Sideline. My name is Mike Turk. It was a busy week in Point Park sports. We saw a lot of important matches being played in volleyball, soccer, and even golf. And one of the biggest questions was, how was the volleyball team going to perform against IU East on the road after the Red Wolves swept Point Park in Pittsburgh a couple of weeks ago? Now, for more information on that, we're going to bring in Nicole Pampina, who has more on that. Now, Nicole, I got to ask you, IU East swept Point Park at home 3-0, but Point Park goes on the road, beats them 3-1 this past weekend. What was going right for the Pioneers this time around?
Everything they couldn't do in that first match. If you remember from back then, I mentioned last week it was their home opener. I think nerves were a big factor, but they should have won that game. There was, or at least taken a game that first time they played them around. But this time, Destiny Tucker, 16 kills, hands down. She is such a key player to have in the middle. Having that strength in the middle, I think, was just kind of unexpected for IU East, and that's really where it came in strong. Minoski, back in that 5-1, a lot steadier now. They kind of have their rhythm fully in. That helped as well, just having, that cornerstone of a setter. And they took a 10-point lead in the third set. Just things like that and having that confidence and being able to steamroll is how they can finish a game, because they struggle to finish games sometimes.
Now, they're tied for first place in all of the RSC with IU Kokomo, but they have sole possession of first place in the River States Conference East Division. How can they make sure they don't get too overconfident here and make sure they can hold on to that first place possession in the East?
Well, obviously, not letting it get to their heads. I think leading into that IU East match, they played Ohio Christian. We mentioned that was just like a rollover win. So that confidence played in their factor in that situation, but going up against IU Kokomo, they're undefeated in conference play. You can't go in with a swelled head. You just have to play the game you know how to play, do exactly what they did with IU East, because they're going to face that same caliber of play against them.
Now they have a big game. You and I are going to be on the call this coming weekend. I'm very excited for it because it's going to be one of the best games of the year for them. IU Kokomo here at Point Park. Huge game. You can't even label how big it is for Point Park, but what are your predictions for this coming game on Friday? How do you think they're going to perform?
Coming off that IU East win, I don't think it's going to be a sweep, which is good at least. I'm hoping it's going to be a 5-setter then, honestly, because I just love to see the excitement. I hope we get a big crowd out there. I want a neck-and-neck match. Obviously, I want us to win, but I want to see what we saw at that home opener, because they feed off that energy well. Having people come out and support them is going to help them a ton, and having that win at home is a dream.
Well, Nicole, thank you very much. I'm looking forward to calling the game with you this coming week. It's going to be a good one. Now, Point Park men's golf team took a trip up to Grove City this weekend to play at the Grove City College Fall Invitational. Now, the men's team had a pretty impressive showing at Grove City Country Club, specifically senior Gage Basiletti, who shot a 79 for the day and placed second at the Invitational. Grove City's Scott Hangfilter came on just top by one stroke over Basiletti, shooting a 78 for the day. This was Basiletti's third top 10 finish and his second runner-up finish out of the 3 fall tournaments he has played in this season. The men's team placed first overall, shooting a team score of 323, just 3 strokes better than host Grove City. Behind Point Park and Grove City was Thiel College, who finished third at the Invitational, shooting a 332. The men's final fall tournament of the season will be played in Florence, Indiana on October 29th and 30th. Now, when we come back, both Point Park and Carlos soccer teams battled at Highmark Stadium on Thursday. Find out who won the downtown rivalry. And later, we'll hear how the Pittsburgh Penguins are doing without goaltender Matt Murray. All that and more next.
Go.
Go to our new website, uvu.pointpark.edu.
Go, 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 go.
Join UView and find your herd.
Join EOP. And 3, 2,
Join
EOP.
I was just saying, grab them now, or else I will step
Yeah.
Join on point with politics. 3, 2, 1.
Join Pioneer Sideline.
Loneliest number that you'll ever do.
Welcome back. The women's soccer team looked to keep their 8-game winning streak and perfect conference record alive this past Thursday. The women squared up against downtown rival Carlow University in a battle for first place in the conference. For more details on how the women played, we bring in our reporter, Megan Masiosi, who has more details. Megan, I got to ask you, just how did the women do against Carlow there?
Not well. They got off to a great start. Brittany Adrian scored in the first 9 minutes of the game, so they had really quick momentum. But it didn't stay because Carlos scored late into the first half, and then momentum, once it's gone, it's gone. They ended up putting in 3 more goals in the second half and it broke Point Park's 8-game win streak, so it was a heartbreaker.
Now, you mentioned Brittany Adrian scored the first goal of that game, but then Carlow got 2 in a row coming up. Point Park surrendered their first lead in a game since September 3rd. How do you think they responded to that after getting a deficit there in the second half?
They didn't respond well. I mean, first of all, they didn't score another goal in the entire second half. They had a lot of shots. They had 12 shots on goal, which was good for them. They did outshoot Carlow, but it was fouls that really caught up to them. They had 10. Carlow only had about 6 or 7. So the girls I feel like once they were down, since they haven't been down in so long, I don't think they really knew how to come back from it. But I look for them to do well this weekend.
Yeah, they dropped that game to Carlow, then they drop another one in a non-conference matchup to Malone, which was a pretty good game, but Malone ended up getting the upper hand on them, dropped 2 in a row after ending that 8-game winning streak. How do you think they're going to respond here in a couple of big conference matchups coming up soon?
Well, last year they beat Midway and Asbury, but they were tight games. They beat Midway 1-0. They beat Asbury in Asbury 2-1. So I vote for them to be tough conference games, but Point Park to come out on top. I think the offense will get back into scoring, and they should rebound this weekend.
All right, well, thank you very much, Megan, for joining us today. Now, the men's team also had to battle Carlow on Thursday, but the stakes weren't as high as this one. The Pioneers faced off against a struggling Carlow Celtics team who is still looking for their first conference win of the season. For more on the match, we welcome in Taylor Spirito, who has more details on that match. Now, Taylor, after a 4-1 win versus Ohio Christian, how did Point Park play against Carlow?
They absolutely dominated. They came out with a 7-1 win against Carlow, and they had those 7 goals from 7 different players, which is absolutely incredible. They're currently sitting at 7-4-1 and 3-2-1 in the River States Conference. It's absolutely phenomenal to see this. They almost got the shutout, but they did give up a goal in the 89th minute. Still a victory, so.
2 consecutive conference wins in a row for Point Park men's soccer. Now, how do you think they can keep this rolling towards the playoffs as the season's coming to an end here?
Well, I've mentioned this before with this team. They learned how to play an offensive game while still keeping their elite defense. And you know what? This game, their goaltending really stepped up as well. They did switch goaltenders halfway through, but the first The first goaltender got 5 saves, second goaltender got 6 saves. So, that really helped them out. But like I said, keeping up that offense and that defense at the same time really proved to be the key to their victory.
Now they have 2 conference opponents coming to Highmark Stadium this coming weekend, Midway and Asbury. What do you think they have to do to enable to get 2 wins out of this? And what do you think is going to be the outcome of these games?
They definitely need to take advantage of this home field opportunity that they have. Obviously, they did that against Carlo, and they need to keep doing what they're doing. Midway, they play on the 18th, and Midway is currently sitting at 5-6, 4-1 in River State's conference. Asbury is on the 20th. They are 8-4-1, 4-0-1 in the River State's conference. So if they keep doing what they're doing, they're going to put up a great fight, and they're going to come home with a win.
I hope you're right on that one.
Me too.
They need a couple wins here this coming weekend in order to get a good ranking here in the playoffs coming up. Now, coming up next on the Pioneer Sideline, the World Series picture is finally starting to take shape. Find out what teams are currently battling it out for the final spots. And later, not everyone can win a championship. Find out the best teams to never win a championship. Don't go anywhere.
What's one word to describe CAB?
Welcoming.
Community.
Creative.
Experiences.
Family.
Openness.
Pineapple.
The Campus Activities Board is a student-run organization that consists of 7 different committees. Each focuses on event planning, marketing, and administrative activities. Join us in organizing the juiciest events on campus, from late-night bingo to festive dances to our team bonding meetings. Follow us on Twitter and Instagram at Point Park Cap, or like us on Facebook at Campus Activities Board at Point Park University.
Good evening and welcome to Newsnight. I'm Josh Troop alongside Jess Paterchak.
Defending his decision to kick out 15 Cuban diplomats from the United States.
Thanks, Allison. Fitness on Demand has returned to Point Park.
Residents fear that Mount Agung will have a repeat of 1963's eruption.
2-star NFL quarterbacks made the headlines this week after wrapping up.
Thank you so much for joining us this evening. That's your news tonight. For Nick Tomarello, I'm Alex Grubbs. Have a great night.
Welcome back. The Pittsburgh Panthers traveled to South Bend this past weekend to take on number 4 ranked Fighting Irish. And the Steelers had an exciting finish against division foe Cincinnati. For more details on those football games and an update on the Pittsburgh Penguins, we throw it over to Aaron Becker.
Thanks, Mike. The Pittsburgh Penguins are sitting in 4th place in the Metropolitan Division after their overtime loss to the Montreal Canadiens. The Pens started fast, going up 2-0 in the first period, but the Canadiens made a comeback with 3 goals in the second. With a scoreless third period, the teams went into a shootout in OT where the Penguins weren't able to put any in the goal. And their loss might not have been the worst part, as it looks like Justin Schultz may be out for the near future with a reported fracture. This would be a big loss for the Penguins, losing the services of a top 4 defenseman. The Pens played the Vancouver Canucks tonight at PPG Paints Arena. Over to football, the University of Pittsburgh fell to undefeated Notre Dame 19-14 on Saturday. Pitt almost completed the upset against the Fighting Irish as they held the lead for more than 40 minutes. The win against the number 5 ranked Notre Dame would have made it 3 seasons in a row that the Panthers beat a top 5 ranked team, last season's being Miami. Pitt struggled with penalties as they had 8 for 80 yards. However, Pitt's head coach Pat Narduzzi was proud of his players' efforts, saying, quote, "Our kids played their tails off, went toe-to-toe with a top 5 team," end quote. Pitt, who is now 3-4, plays next on family weekend against Duke and will have an extra week to game plan with the help of their bye. And on to the Steelers. The Steelers face former Pitt star Tyler Boyd and the Bengals in their 28-21 win in Cincinnati Sunday. James Conner ran wild, rushing for 111 yards and 2 touchdowns in the game. But it wasn't just the run game that was having success. The Steelers' offense had success as well. Ben Roethlisberger threw for 369 yards and a touchdown in the win, having 2 receivers with over 100 yards. Juju Smith-Schuster had 7 catches for 111 yards, and Antonio Brown had 5 catches for 105 yards, including his 31-yard game-winning touchdown with 10 seconds remaining in the game. The Steelers have their rematch in 2 weeks against the Cleveland Browns, who they tied in Week 1, and they're heading into their week bye as well.
So now, Aaron, it's time for the Steelers bye week, which is coming up, and that also means it was supposed to be the time for Le'Veon Bell's return. If that happens, what role do you expect him to take? And what role do you expect James Conner to fall into with his return?
Yeah, Le'Veon Bell, if he comes back, I don't think he's going to be in shape right away, so I definitely see James Conner starting. But over time, I think Le'Veon Bell is going to get more reps, but I really think James Conner is going to still get his, take of reps as well, because Ben Roethlisberger in this past weekend's post-game press conference even joked that James Conner, I guess, is done for the season now that Le'Veon Bell's back. But Ben Roethlisberger definitely has a big say in this offense, and I know he's a big fan of James Conner.
Well, thanks, Aaron, on that report, but now it's time to shift gears and look at sports from a national level. The Kansas City Chiefs suffered their first loss of the season on Sunday night against the New England Patriots. Meanwhile, the World Series race in the MLB is a nail-biter. For the latest in national sports, we send things over to Megan Massiozzi.
It was a showdown between 2 of the best quarterbacks Sunday night, and there was no shortage of points between the New England Patriots and the Kansas City Chiefs. According to ESPN, a combined 83 points was scored between the two, but the Patriots came out on top. Tom Brady and his high-powered offense took a 24-9 lead into the half, but Patrick Mahomes and Tyreek Hill broke out in the second half, scoring 17 points, while the defense held the Patriots to 3 points. But it wasn't enough to beat Brady, and the Pats would move on to 4-2 and hand the Chiefs their first loss of the season. From the field to the ice, according to NHL.com, the Florida Panthers forward Mike Mollison, has been suspended for 2 games without pay for interference and unsportsmanlike conduct. Matheson will be forfeiting $52,000. The NHL player safety has been cracking down this season, with their most notable case being Tom Wilson's 20-game suspension. And from the ice to the diamond, it's League Championship Series week, and starting off was the Milwaukee Brewers and the LA Dodgers in the National League Series. The Brewers took a 2-1 lead and shut out the Dodgers 4-0 to be the third team in MLB history, with 3 shutouts in the first 6 games of a postseason. In the AL, the Houston Astros are playing the Boston Red Sox, and they are currently tied 1-1 in their series. As well, Game 3 will take place tonight in Houston with first pitch at 7:05.
Now, both division series in the MLB World Series race are certainly not disappointing so far. They've been great entertainment. Megan, I want to get your take on them. Who do you expect to come out in these series coming up?
Well, both these series clearly are really close, but in the NL, I have to go with the Brewers. That pitching staff, and they have an MVP candidate in Christian Yelich, so I really think the Brewers are going to come out in the NL, and in the AL, as long as Chris Sale is pitching a good game, I could see the Red Sox coming out, but the Astros just did it last year. They're hungry for a second one. Their pitching staff is way more phenomenal with Verlander and Cole, so I'm going to have to say the Astros in the AL and the Brewers in the NL.
Well, I like those picks, Megan, so thank you for that report. But coming up next, winning a championship isn't easy, and even the best don't always win. Who do our reporters think is the best team to never win a championship? You'll find out next.
The United Student Government at Point Park University, working since the 1970s to solve the issues that matter to you. What concerns do you have about the university? Student life, safety, food service? Send us an email to studentconcerns@pointpark.edu or stop by our office on the 7th floor of the Student Center. You can also attend our weekly open meetings on Mondays at 3:15. Follow us on social media at USG_PPU for more. The United Student Government. By the students, for the students.
The Point Park Sports Network, bringing you live coverage of Pioneer Athletics on Stretch Internet, the home of the River States Conference and the NAIA. Subscribe today for complete access to the Point Park volleyball, baseball, basketball, and soccer teams. Watch live and on-demand broadcasts, and don't miss a minute of Point Park Athletics. Head to pointparksports.com/live for broadcast listings. The Point Park Sports Network, your streaming home for Point Park Athletics.
Like 3, 2, 1.
Please visit our website. Please, it's a nice website. Please visit our website. Please.
If you have ever watched television, whether accidentally or on purpose, UView is for you.
Since the turn of the millennium, we've seen a lot of impressive championship runs by some stupendous teams, but we've also seen some stupendous teams just fall short of that championship. Now, tonight, our reporters will be debating who is the best team since 2000 to never win a championship. For tonight's debate, we want to welcome in Taylor Spirito, Aaron Becker, Megan Masiosi, who will be debating tonight's topic. Now, I think we're just going to hop right into it. So, Taylor, you're closest to me, so let's just talk first. Go ahead. Who's your team since 2000?
So I picked the 2009 San Jose Sharks. They got beat in the first round by the Anaheim Ducks in 6 games. They were a favorite. Everyone thought that they were going to, take it all the way. They won the President's Trophy, 117 points. They had elite goaltending. They had elite defensive core and elite offense, but they just couldn't pull it off.
Mr. Aaron?
I have to go with the 2007 New England Patriots. They went 16-0 during the regular season, the first team to do that since the 1972 Miami Dolphins, and the first team to do it since the NFL opened up a 16-game season. They went 18-1, but they fell short to the New York Giants, 17-14 in the Super Bowl.
Well, I'm going to go with the MLB, the 2011 Philadelphia Phillies. They absolutely owned the NL East. They were 13 games ahead of the second best team, which is the Atlanta Braves, and to even bet on them in Vegas, it was 3-1 odds. So the fact that they went out in the division round series, huge disappointment.
Now, honestly, when I first thought of this subject, when we assigned it, my original thought was the New England Patriots as well.
Yeah.
It was a good run. But Aaron, please expand more. Try to convince these two why it was and why are they potentially wrong, and then you two can obviously chime in. Why is Aaron wrong?
Because Aaron's always wrong.
Oh, okay. Guys got to team up on me. No, the New England Patriots, that team, they broke so many NFL records. Some stand to this day, some others don't. The one record that they broke that was crazy was 589 points in a season, the most ever in a season. Now that was broken by Peyton Manning and the Broncos in 2013. But Tom Brady at the time, 50 passing touchdowns, NFL record. They acquired Randy Moss and Wes Welker that offseason. Those two players went on to have spectacular seasons, especially Randy Moss. He broke the NFL record for receiving touchdowns in a season that still stands to this day with 23, an incredible season by him.
And here's why Aaron's wrong, because with the Patriots, every time they get to the Super Bowl or they get close to it, there's always controversy with Deflategate, or I believe they spied on the Jets that year in the first week. So that's why I'm not disappointed. That's called karma when you lose, because you cheat.
And the thing with picking the Patriots, I think Megan can agree with me, kind of a cop-out.
Yeah,
I mean,
always. Come on.
Yeah.
Here's why the MLB, because first of all, they won 102 games, the Phillies. Like I said, it was absolutely incredible. And they lost to a team that only won 90 games and barely got in on the wild card that year. They had one of the best pitching staffs in Roy Halladay and Cliff Lee and Cole Hamels. So the fact that they lost with that pitching staff, that year Roy Halladay was a Cy Young winner, absolutely disappointing. They lost 1-0. They're supposed to be this high-powered offense, and you can't even score one run? That's why they've been the most disappointing.
I like that point you bring up about the pitching staff, because it was pretty incredible back then with Roy Halladay and Cliff Lee. But I want to hear more about the San Jose Sharks here, Taylor. Now, try and convince me.
All right, so like I said, the San Jose Sharks in 2009, they won the President's Trophy. They had elite goaltending in Evgeny Nabokov. He won the Calder in 2001, which is the best rookie in the entire NHL. Not unheard of, but very rare for a goaltender to get that award. He also was a Vezina finalist in 2008. He was second in the league in wins and shutouts. He had 7 shutouts on the year, and he had a 2.44 goals against average, which is an incredible stat for a goalie. They had Joe Thornton. He was the captain of the West in the 2009 All-Star Game. He had 86 points on the year. And then they had Patrick Marleau. Patrick Marleau has the most points in San Jose Sharks franchise history with 1,082. He was captain. He was part of the NHL All-Star Game in 2009. He had 10 game-winning goals. And they just were elite, but they couldn't muster up that offense and that defense that they're very well known for in this game. They got shut out twice by Jonas Hiller. He had 95.7% in saves. It was just so disappointing to see this team fall so short against 8th seed Anaheim, especially in the first round. Like, that is absolutely crazy for this team to be shut out like that.
That San Jose team, I remember playing with them on NHL Backyard, little Game Boy Advance game. I might be able to relate to that. Yeah. Joe Thornton was the man on that one.
Exactly.
I just want to let you guys sign off here with a couple final thoughts about your team here. So we'll start with Megan.
I'm going to go with mine. It was a 5-game series. They lost in 4 games. The number 1 team lost to basically the 6th seed, to put that in football terms for y'all. So that's why I think it's been the most disappointing. They won the most games. They had the most hype. They had the Cy Young winner. They had a bunch of All-Stars for the All-Star game, and ultimately just lost 1-0.
Okay, I'm not saying I like the Patriots, but for your Jets comment earlier, I'm pretty sure the Jets quarterback at that time was Mark Sanchez, and we kind of see how his career ended up, the butt fumble, all those good things. Another little statistic throughout. The New England Patriots defense was very good, too. They only allowed 274 points to the offense's 589. That shows you how dominant all throughout the season. Doesn't matter about a little Jets game or whatnot. I'm not saying it was right either. But that team had 8 Pro Bowlers. Tom Brady won the MVP that season. And to come up 3 points short of the Super Bowl from winning, it's rough. And you know that's why the 2007 New England Patriots are the best team to never win it.
See, I still stand by my San Jose Sharks because they did get eliminated in the first round. And one point that I didn't mention before, but they stocked up during the offseason and during the season. Just to name a few, they acquired Rob Blake, Dan Boyle, Claude Lemieux, Travis Moen, and Kent Huskins. And they also started with a brand new head coach, really implemented that hardworking mindset. But like I said, they did just come up short against this team that really shut them out. 7 Sharks were held to 1 point, 5 Sharks were held to 2 points in the entire 6-game series. They just couldn't muster up that offense, like I've said. But it was just super disappointing to see this favorite team just kind of go down in flames.
Now, I originally said that my initial thought was New England Patriots, I'm not going to lie. But I also came across some research. I liked, I forget what year, 05 or 06, USC Trojans. Matt Leinart in college, Reggie Bush at running back. Lost. Their fatal flaw was they didn't have Vince Young on their side. What do you guys think about that one? From my that's what I'm gonna say, because I thought that was a big upset there when Texas beat USC in the national championship game.
Yeah, I almost used that one for here, but I thought the Phillies was a little bit better, and I wanted to stay away from football. But Reggie Bush, that was his time to shine that year. It was so disappointing.
Yeah, that team was really stacked, and I forget how many points were put up in that game. I just know that it was a lot. I don't know the exact score.
Like
no defense.
High 30s, low 40s, Mm-hmm. But no, I don't know which one I would go with, but I really like that USC. If you guys had a second pick, what would you go with real quick here? Before we run out of time.
Man, I'd probably say the 2016 Falcons. You blew a 28-3 lead to the. I know it was the Patriots, but come on.
Yeah, we talked about that a little bit before the show, and I agree. 28-3 with a quarter left to go. That's a devastating loss.
Yeah, I agree with that. But just to shy away from football a little bit, I am a hockey girl, so I'm gonna go with the 2006 Red Wings. They had so much power on that team, but they did fall just short. I believe they got out in the second or third round. Super disappointing.
Yep. Hey guys, thank you so much for coming on air tonight. We really appreciate the whole debate. Now, well, that's all the time we have for this week, but Be sure to join us next week at the same Pioneer time, the same Pioneer channel, and the same Pioneer sideline.
Okay,